This summer, Prime Video takes you back before Legally Blonde, before law school, and into the world of Elle Woods in high school. Set in 1995, this Gemini vegetarian knows exactly who she is until her family moves from Bel Air to Seattle. Packed with iconic fashion, 90s nostalgia, and a throwback soundtrack, Elle proves one thing. Law school was hard. High school was harder. From the world of Legally Blonde, watch Elle, a new original series only on Prime Video. Watch now.
The best dancers from across the globe are about to join me for the audition of a lifetime.
ABC Mondays. Do they have what it takes to compete and be the next Dancing with the Stars pro?
I'm here to win.
Nothing is going to stop me.
Our star judges will decide.
This is what hunger looks like.
It was 100% a wrong choice.
Robert Irwin hosts.
The next era of ballroom starts right here on Dancing with the Stars, The Next Pro.
All new Mondays, 8/7 Central on ABC. Next day on Hulu.
This episode is brought to you by Google. Innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. There are hundreds of thousands of skilled trades roles across the U.S. waiting to be filled. To help close this gap, Google is expanding its skilled trade support to help train more than 300,000 American workers across more than 20 states. This is a new era of American innovation. Learn more at grow.google/skilled trades.
What's going on, everyone? What's happening? I am back. Thank you for being patient, and thank you for sending me messages on social media, asking how I'm doing. I'm doing good. And my son has been away at school now for a few weeks, and my only kid, my only son, and preparing for that moment when he leaves the nest, and the time after was a big impact on my lifestyle, and just because my time was always so much wrapped up into his, that the adjustment was a little a little tougher than I had originally thought. So I took a few weeks off. I've been taking time off this summer in large part because I wanted to spend time with him, because I knew this moment was going to happen. But he is off in Ole Miss in Oxford, Mississippi. Just went to his first SEC football game. So I'm not going to see him till Thanksgiving. But it's time to get back to podcasting and time to get back to rock music, talking rock music. And you guys know I always enjoy it. So I'm going to be firing away at the episodes here as much as I've done in the past and getting back on the saddle. And it's like riding a bike, right? But once again, as I always mention, it's been a while since I mentioned it. We are part of the Pantheon Podcast Network, an incredible network of music podcasts that has something for everyone's taste and different types of formats and different types of topics discussed on all of the podcasts. And check them out at pantheonpodcast.com, as well as on Twitter, social media. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at the Pantheon Pods, or at Pantheon Pods. I say at the Hook Rocks. PantheonPodcast.com is the website. And you can check out the Hook Rocks on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and also Threads. Still trying to figure out that app. Not happy they don't have a desktop version, because I don't like to type a lot on my phone because I always mess up. But check out us on all those social media platforms at the Hook Rocks. And don't forget to set your app to automatic download so you get all the episodes right to your phone, especially the new ones. And you can go back. We've got over 500 episodes. We've been doing this for 4 years now, or over 4 years. So there's plenty for you to listen to. We had a great episode with Nick Perry. One thing I realized while talking to Nick is I need to have Nick Perry on my podcast more because he's so engaging. He's so open about a lot of things. And it was just a great conversation. We also featured Gods of Sometimes with their debut album, as well as another new music spotlight with Juliana Amaral from the band Inc. She's got a lot in store. Such a sweet gal. Really rooting for her. She's out of Boston. So check out those episodes, and also the new music spotlight with Julia Lauren from the Foxies. And we welcome Christine Eagle talking about the impact of AI ChatGPT in the music industry, as well as a further discussion on the Ticketmaster Live Nation monopoly that is still going on. And we had a Senate hearing here 3-4 months ago, I want to say, and there hasn't been any changes as to what's happening. And hopefully I've put in an interview request with the Senator Dick Durbin of Illinois, who is the head of the Judiciary Committee for the Senate, because I want to ask him what's going on, because I think it's important for music fans and concert goers to find out if the government's going to step in and break up this monopoly that is Ticketmaster and Live Nation. It's time again, though, for another live music album review. We do these once a quarter, and we always get a fantastic response on these episodes. We started out a couple years ago. Has it been that long? Yeah, a couple years ago with Thin Lizzy, Live and Dangerous, and we featured other live albums such as Live After Death from Iron Maiden, Kiss Alive, Strangers of the Night by UFO, Unleashed in the East by Judas Priest, and so many others. We just did Cheap Trick live at Budokan, and as well as many others. So go check out all those episodes and look back in our catalog. There are great discussions about the albums, great discussions about the story behind some of the albums too as well. And we do definitely enjoy doing it because it's a great avenue to talk about live music, especially with bands that you never were able to see, and capturing performances that are just out of this world. And we always do it with one of my favorite Twitter followers, and always has great insight on the albums and great knowledge about the subject matter. And that is Rob in the Hood. And he is at the Recidivist on Twitter. His link will be in the notes of the show. What's happening, man? How are you?
Hey, Jay, I'm doing okay. It's a pretty significant buildup. I kind of feel nervous that I don't stumble here with some of that complimentary language you just used.
Well, hey, it's well deserved, and I'm sure you won't stumble.
We'll see.
But here we are, man. I mean, it's been a bit. It's been 3 months, I think, since we did our last one, which I think was Cheap Trick, right?
Yeah, that's right. And it's funny. It seems like we were just talking about it. The summer slipped away from me pretty quickly. But yeah, that was a great album to talk about, especially with some of the ancillary material that's available after the original release, because you always get these bonus editions that get extra tracks on them. And there's some of that's available for the subject from today too, which is the No Sleep Till Hammersmith album, which I'm pretty excited about. I'm really, the Motorhead came through the area where I live about 6 months before Lemmy died, and I kicked myself for not having gone to that show. It wasn't far away from me at all. I could have easily gone, and it was in the middle of the week, and I thought, well, I'll catch them the next time. And man, you just don't ever know when that next time might never happen. And so that's what I really like the live album experience, because it helps capture some of that stuff that maybe you missed.
I agree. Motorhead is the one band I never saw live. One of the bands I never saw live. And I had the opportunity to go in the last two times they came to Chicago, and something was, taken away, from me going, and I had something come up. And again, you always think, oh, I'll see them on the next tour. And yeah, you never know. And disappointing, because I would love to have seen them. I'm a big Motorhead fan. I've been to the Rainbow. I've seen the Lemmy statue. In fact, my son, who we were just talking about, had his picture taken next to it when he was 12, and actually sat in Lemmy's seat. That's still the seat that he sat in
Yeah.
When he would go to the Rainbow, he would get mail at the Rainbow. So that's actually pretty cool. He lived down the street in an apartment down there. He was always there, and he was a staple of that establishment. And he's part of the lore of the Rainbow, especially in now the later years here over the last 25 years. He's part of that history of the Rainbow, which is known for so many great moments with rock stars over the years. But yeah, like you said, I would love to have seen Motorhead. I heard they were incredibly loud, and so much energy. And I think that's probably the first thing we're going to talk about with No Sleep Till Hammersmith is that energy. I mean, the album has 11 songs on it?
The original release, that's correct.
And I think it runs about 30 minutes. Maybe 40?
40 minutes and 31 seconds is the original.
Yeah. Which, for a live album, I mean, the one thing about Motorhead is their songs are quick and to the point. They don't mess around, which is why I think Chris Corradetti would love him, because he can't handle a song over 6 minutes. That's the gentleman that does the quarterly album reviews. So, but yeah, I mean, it's a quick live album, and it's just balls to the wall energy, where from the moment the first guitar lick with Ace of Spades into the last track, it's just monumentous in terms of, or monumental, I should say. It's monumental in terms of the performance, in terms of just the history of the band, because they were largely unknown in the United States because they were big in the UK and they were really underground in the United States.
Yeah, I think that Motorhead really didn't come to my attention until probably about 1983 or so. I remember being in my first year of high school, and I was talking to a classmate who went to go see them, and he had his Motorhead shirt on, and he was telling me about how loud they were. And I thought, wow, loud. That's a pretty cool shirt. It's got the snaggletooth fixture on it. And he's talking about, I was like, well, this seems like something my parents would hate. Maybe I should listen to this some more.
Yeah, those shirts are iconic. Every time someone has a Motorhead shirt on, you look at it, they're unique. They have that logo, that iconic logo that they have, and the lettering of the letters in the name of Motorhead. And you go on their website where you can still buy shirts, or go on whatever website to buy a Motorhead shirt. And just like Iron Maiden probably has more because they're just out of control when it comes to that stuff. Yeah. But Motorhead has a lot of shirts over the years. And, based on the period of what you wear with Motorhead, you can tell when someone got into Motorhead or when someone had a moment. It's always a great conversation whenever you see someone wearing the Motorhead No Remorse shirt, or you see, the Overkill shirt or the Bomber shirt. Just a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah, and I didn't know until a little while later, after I really started digging into it, that I had missed the classic lineup. But because by about 1983, 84, I think 84 is when that, maybe it was 83, when that compilation of No Remorse came out. When I'm not a big fan of greatest hits or compilation albums like that, unless you can get something cool off of them that you can't get anywhere else, and that had Killed by Death on it. And so I started listening to it, and a lot of material on there actually comes from the classic period. And then I realized that, that really is a power trio that started off in the first, 5, 6 albums, something like that. And, I was as I was thinking about how do you describe Motorhead to assuming there's somebody out there that wouldn't know anything about Motorhead, what would I say to help describe what the music is like? And I think that if you go back to the, what was it, like 86 or so, with the Orgasmatron album that had that train on it that has the snaggletooth sort of emblem as the head of the train, and it looks like it's barreling down the track straight to hell. I was like, yeah, that's kind of what Motorhead sounds like.
If I were to describe Motorhead's music, I would say it's Chuck Berry on steroids. Because even though it inspired a lot of metal bands, right? Everyone from Metallica to whomever, they still have a very punkish yet rock and roll approach to their music. I mean, Lemmy always would say, we're a rock and roll band.
Right.
And they really are. I mean, when you look at, you can hear the punk in it, but if you hear Chuck Berry, slay on guitar and do, Maybelline and all that kind of stuff, and then you inject steroids into it, make it louder and harder and a little heavier. I mean, it's Motorhead,
Yeah. And his, both his vocal style and the way he played the bass, which is different from the way virtually everybody else that plays the bass.
Yeah.
I mean, he was almost using it as kind of the rhythm guitar of the band, with Fast Eddie Clarke playing the lead. And he always had that very high in the mix sounds. That bass was quite distinctive. It always had the distortion on it. He had that Rickenbacker that he always played. And it really jumped out of the mix so that it caught your attention as something that was different from your average bass player's method.
Yeah, he had a great sense of uniqueness to him. Absolutely. I remember when he passed, I think Geddy Lee of Rush made a social media post about his uniqueness. And yeah, he had a distinct sound that you knew it was him on bass, and just the way he played it and the way he approached it. But that classic lineup that you mentioned is such an underrated band, and Motorhead is such an underrated entity, right? And this album is such an underrated live album too, because not a lot of people include it in discussions of great live albums. But when you think of Lemmy and Fast Eddie Clarke and Phil Taylor, the Filthy Animal, they were just balls to the wall energy. Like I said, it was just incredible. When you think of where the name came from, Motorhead, it's about speed addicts. That's what they used to call that. And when you hear their music and you hear what they're about, it's such a perfect name that embodies their, that really embodies their music.
I think whenever I hear the word juggernaut, Motorhead kind of comes to mind. It kind of describes the, both the straight ahead method of their performance and the intensity and the way they went through their career. They weren't concerned about any side issues going on. It was they were straight ahead, in your face. And that really comes out well, I think, on this album. I was thinking about the fact that they were a trio, and because you've only got the guitar, drums, and bass, you don't have some of the complications that might come with other live acts with balancing some of the sound. It's the three elements of it that are right there. But it's a pretty good sounding album for a live recording. And I know that it's taken from about 4 or 5 different concerts, but it's a pretty even sound throughout. It doesn't really feel like you're transitioning too much. And so the production on this album is pretty good, especially since it came from 1981. Is that when it was recorded? Yeah.
Well, think of the classic lineup, and now none of them are alive. They're all gone.
Yeah.
Sad in itself, because they made such a contribution to rock, hard rock, and heavy metal. Fast Eddie Clarke, of course, left to pursue Fastway, which was a great band, a band that really never got off the ground like I think they should have. I think they were extremely talented. That debut Fastway album should be regarded as one of the greatest debut rock albums of all time.
Classic.
Just absolutely incredible. But there was a magic with the original three, and there were moments later on too when they had the replacements come in, and the last lineup with Phil Campbell and Mickey D, of course, had some really good stuff. Their later albums were awesome as well. But when you hear those original 3 records that lead up to this live album, if you've never listened to Motorhead, one of the biggest things people say is why they can't get interested in them is Lemmy's voice. And as I've grown in my music taste, my rock music taste, I think more and more that yes, it can be challenging, but I think it's also kind of a cop-out because not every voice is going to be clean like Freddie Mercury's or Steve Perry's or Steven Tyler's or Robert Plant. And I've really grown to like the voices that have the personalities, like a Lemmy, like a Bon Scott. You know, the voices that maybe aren't considered great with range or, you know, they don't have the Freddie Mercury depth to it. But there's something to be said, you know, even Geddy Lee, you know, obviously he's got that high pitch and he, you know, has some range, but it's very unique sounding. I do like that stuff because it's almost like, obviously we know the voice is an instrument, but it's a unique instrument. It's not something that you hear. And yes, it may take your ears a little bit to warm up to it, but if you keep listening, you get the attitude of Motorhead, because that's a lot what it is. It's all similar to AC/DC, where it's all attitude. You do grow your appreciation. Your appreciation grows with every listen because the stuff is just kick ass and top notch.
Yeah, I don't know. Actually, if you think about the style of music that Motorhead represented, I don't know how you do these songs with something other than Lemmy's voice.
Right.
I mean, because it fits perfectly with the way this music is played. And I was actually, it's within the last 24 hours, Turbo and I had a brief conversation on Twitter, Twixter or whatever the heck it is now, about the new album that the Neptune Power Federation just released, the Australian band. That's all covers, and they have a cover of Killed by Death on there. And I listened to it, and I thought, this is really well done, good production, great playing, because they're a very polished band. And I'm like, but I miss Lemmy's voice. I mean, the singer has this beautiful, it's a female singer, beautiful voice, carries this clear tone, and I'm like, I want Lemmy.
Killed by Death, first of all, has to be the greatest title of a song.
Yeah.
I mean, such a badass title, Killed by Death. And the song is absolutely phenomenal. But yeah, you're right. I cannot hear Motorhead without hearing that grovel of Lemmy's voice that is just so raw and so pure, because it's all attitude and it's not a voice with a lot of range, but it's just, it is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And when you factor in just the talent behind the band and the way the band was notorious for their partying ways. I mean, this band is probably the most authentic hard rock heavy metal band to ever exist. And when
you listen to it, and you can smell the cigarettes and the whiskey.
Yes,
as you're
thing.
Yes.
There is nothing fake or bullshit about Motorhead.
Yeah,
it's there. There's no smoke and mirrors. There's no frills. It's picking up their instrument, plugging in, and melting your face.
Yeah,
and there's just no glam about it. I mean, look at Lemmy. He's not the most attractive man that lived. And none of those guys are. All those guys look like you don't want to meet those guys at 2 a.m. You know, God forbid what will happen. But there's just an authenticity about all three of them in that original lineup in that band, and carrying that through was Lemmy for all the years. Didn't care about trends. Didn't care about teasing their hair up or doing any of that stuff. They were going to make the music regardless of what was popular out there, and that's what makes them so special and so great.
Yeah, you talk about no nonsense, and the album is kind of presented in that same way, where you don't have these big long pauses in between songs, right, where the singer sits there and spiels on, and you're not listening to music. It's like straight from one song to the next. He'll frequently say something like, this is a song that's dedicated to maybe somebody in the band, or he'll make some quip about the title of the song. But it's not a delay between the song. It's just a very brief comment and then right into the next one.
Absolutely. It took the words right out of my mouth. It's when you're listening to this album, I was able to revisit it over the last few days. So I hadn't listened to it in a few years. And yeah, I mean, like between each song, this is a song called Motorhead. This is Bomber. I mean, there's no interaction with the crowd. I think the only interaction was when they introduced "We Are the Road Crew." But that was even brief too, as well. And that was just, I think, one of the roadies screaming into a mic.
Yeah.
Basically. But it does capture what Motorhead is all about. What I love about this album is, again, the authenticity. And I know I've said that before on a lot of albums, but when you listen to this, you hear the mistakes, you hear the rawness of it. And with some of the other live albums that we've talked about, all great, all classic, all legendary live albums, there probably was a little bit of a fix in the studio, right? I mean, every band has pretty much admitted that they had to go in the studio and re-record. The only thing you can't re-record on a live album is the drums. That's really the only thing you can't re-record. But yeah, I mean, this is just total, like I always describe AC/DC as 3 chords and a set of balls. And this is pretty much the same. I mean, it's an attitude.
And the starting song on it, Ace of Spades, the intro track, at the very beginning, you can almost not realize that you're listening to a live album at first, because you don't have someone coming out there and introducing them. You don't have that a volume swell of the crowd before the band starts playing. It's just straight into it. And it's not until the song is over that you hear the response from the audience that you actually realize that was a live performance that you just listened to.
Exactly. I noticed that when I revisited it, because we've been talking about a lot of different live albums, and they all have that, like you said, that swell of the crowd noise, and some of them have introductions and some of them don't. And you hit play on No Sleep Till Hammersmith, and Ace of Spades just starts playing. You're like, is this live? Is this the right album? And it is, but it's a unique way to start off a live album. And it just, it captures the crowd. Lemmy's voice is not always kind of centered, audio wise and sonically. It's kind of like out there, not on the mic. Yeah. So, but that's cool because it kind of gives you that feel. You're at the show. Phil Taylor's drumming is an overkill, Rob.
Yeah, yeah.
That is the energy of his drums on Overkill is out of this world. Yeah.
And if you think about, they start with Ace of Spades, and that is basically the quintessential Motorhead song. If you could point to what's the best example of Motorhead, it's that song. It is a great song. The lyrics, from what you can get from them, kind of speak to that living on the edge of the Wild West, sort of, which comes along with the Ace of Spades album cover to a certain extent. And it gives you everything that Motorhead's all about right there from the very beginning.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and those first 3 songs that start off with Ace of Spades are all recorded on the same show on March 30th, 1981.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's all from the same show. Like after Ace of Spades, it goes into Stay Clean and Metropolis, which are great songs to continue that energy. But again, you get through these 3 songs and you're like, it hasn't even been 10 minutes and you're done with like 3 songs. It's like,
and you're kind of exhausted already.
Yeah. But it's so much energy. It's just off the charts energy. And it's just an incredible experience when you start listening to this album. Is this the album that, you'd recommend to someone who wants to check out Motorhead? Yes and no. If not No Sleep Till Hammersmith, I would check out the debut, which is good.
Yeah.
And I would also, start out Ace of Spades or Overkill.
Yeah, I agree.
Those are the 3 that I would start off with.
Yeah, and that second song, Stay Clean, was off Overkill, which was the 79 release. And one of the cool things about it is Lemmy actually has a little bass solo in the song as you're listening to it. And you can hear, I mean, it's very identifiable as him playing just from the tone alone, if nothing else, where with that, like as I said, high in the mix always distorted. He never varied his bass tone. He wasn't one of those like people that tinkered with the tone from song to song. Neither did Fast Eddie Clarke either. I mean, they had a sound that defined everything that they did. And Stay Clean is right in the middle of that sound.
This album, did peak on the UK album charts. Forget it peaked at number one.
Number one.
Yeah. I mean, and this is what I'm talking about. Like, it peaked at number one, and the American audience was largely oblivious to this band at this point, right? I mean, they really weren't on MTV, which had just begun around 81, 82. They're obviously not really played on rock radio because no one really knew what the hell they were listening to. But here they are in the UK, you coming from that new wave of British heavy metal, which some people connect them with, some people don't, depending on the rock historian that you talk with. Some people say they came before. Some people, they say that they were a catalyst of it. So it's all depends on who you talk to. But, coming from that period of music, which I'm a huge fan of, the new wave of British heavy metal era, they did play with a lot of those bands on tours. They played with
right.
Tank, which is kind of like a junior version of Motorhead. If you really want to get into that band, it's very Motorhead-esque. They play with bands like Holocaust and Death Angel. They play with pretty much everybody in that scene at the time. And Lemmy had come from the band Hawkwind before they disbanded. And he, I think, was kicked out of the band because of drug use.
He got busted, I think.
Yeah, he got busted. So, he started this band Motorhead. They come out with these 3 albums prior to this, and then they released a live album because it really kind of was still the thing to do after your 3rd album.
Yeah.
A lot of bands were releasing stuff like that after 3 or 4 albums. I know Kiss did. Trying to think. I don't know if Aerosmith released theirs after their 3rd album, or maybe it was after Toys in the Attic, I want to say. When was it? Or maybe it was after Rocks.
Yeah.
Maybe. Whatever it was. But, it was the 3rd, 4th, 5th album that bands were releasing albums. And, obviously it was the right decision because it peaked at number one more so than any other album they've done before. And again, it opened up audiences to kind of go back, which is kind of what it did for Kiss and a lot of other bands too. UFO, you can say that too, was Strangers in the Night opened up a lot of doors for them and going back to their catalog and people buying their albums. So it really was a thing in the 70s and the early part of the 80s to release a live album. And I don't know why that ever went away. No one's been really able to answer that question as to why live albums, pretty much after Iron Maiden's Live After Death, kind of like weren't in existence. I mean, whether you like the bands or not, Def Leppard never released a live album. Van Halen never released a live album. Motley Crue never did. None of those big bands from that period, that decade, ever released anything. And Maiden had theirs. And then, of course, Rush sprinkled in a live album after every few albums. And Priest had Priest Live, even though they released Unleashed in the East in the 80s or 1980. It just became a thing that just went away for no reason. And I don't understand.
Yeah. And as you talked about before on a lot of these albums that we're talking about, the live album really was kind of the definitive moment of when a wider audience suddenly became aware of the band. And that certainly is true here as well. And then you're right, it fell out of being in vogue at some point in the mid to late 80s. And I don't know if it's the advent of technology and the greater ease to which you could overdub things to where people became more accustomed to wanting to hear something more polished. I think that certainly for my taste, a lot of the things that I like about live albums is the grittier attack that you can hear on the guitars. And in the late 80s, there was a lot of synthy stuff that probably wouldn't really translate that much to a live audience as well, I think. And I think that these days, I have seen a fair number of live albums start to come out again. I'm actually, if I look to see how many I've gotten this year, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 7 new live albums that I've acquired that have been released this year. So I'm very happy to see that. But I think it's probably with the focus on sounding perfect, for whatever that means, and probably the expense of recording a live album, it may be harder now to do that than to put together something with your own equipment in your living room, because everybody has this technology at their fingertips now. So I don't know if that's playing a role or not, but I'm happy to see the live album is not completely dead, even if it has faded from its once glory that it had.
Yeah, I don't know how much it cost to make a live album back in the 80s or in the 90s as well versus going in the studio and making an album. I would think to go in a studio would cost way more.
Yeah, back then I think so too.
Yeah.
But now I just think that a lot of technology is the big names are still going to use the best producer on the best equipment in the best studio, but people can put out much more passable things on their own now than they could in the past. And so I really don't know how much that's affecting it.
Yeah, I think there was a magic element about hearing that live album. And when you think of those big bands in the 80s, whether it was Motley Crue or whether it was Van Halen or whoever it was, I think they missed out in having a timestamp of the band at its peak. For Van Halen especially, to never release anything live until the video Live Without a Net, which I don't understand why that's never been released on an album format, because it's such a great recording. And it's a great document of Eddie. I mean, that eruption solo on Live Without a Net, it was absolutely incredible. But to not do it after, the Fair Warning album, or not do it after Women and Children's first album, or even 1984. And then even though the show was sloppy at the US Festival, incredibly sloppy, to not have a recording of a band at its peak is just, to me, really disappointing.
Especially from a band that made its chops playing like backyard parties in Pasadena and really was part of the whole live experience from the ground up. And so you're right.
Yeah, I think when you talk about live albums in the 80s, unless I'm wrong and forgetting something, you had Maiden, you had Priest. Dokken released their live album at the end of the 80s, which I thought it's very underrated too as well. Scorpions, of course, with Worldwide Live, which was a big album. Rush, of course, had theirs. I just think that for whatever reason, it just didn't make any sense. I mean, a perfect time for Def Leppard to release a live album was that gap between Pyromania and Hysteria.
Yeah.
To kind of keep fans, interested, or keep fans aware of the band. I mean, obviously Hysteria was such a big album. Maybe it didn't matter, but to have those bands that come through, again, whether you like them or not, whether you like their music. I mean, Metallica didn't release anything live either until they came out with the Binge and Purge box set.
They didn't have a true bona fide live album. They did have a lot of live recordings that got stuck on imports or some singles. Like if you get the old one single, it has like 3 or 4 live songs on it. So, but a lot of them, the sound quality isn't really great, and a lot of them are like bootleg material where it's going to be hit or miss as to how great it comes through to the listener. But yeah, there certainly are some catalogs that have that void that should be filled by something like this album.
Yeah, I think when you talk about Metallica, their box sets that they've released have several shows, 3 or 4 shows that they put out on these box sets, these anniversary editions of, they've done Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets. And I'm assuming I don't know if they've done And Justice for All. I don't think they have yet. But, just like you said, to not have that in their catalog as a diary entry of the band, like, hey, this is us at our peak. I think a lot of bands should have taken direction on that.
Yeah, it's funny since we're talking about Metallica, this actually plays right into a note that I made about the third song on No Sleep Till Hammersmith, that being the Metropolis. There's something very definitive about the way that Fast Eddie Clarke used the wah pedal. And every time I hear it, I think, did Kirk Hammett listen to that? And is that what inspired him to use the wah so much? Because you hear it all over his playing.
That's a good point.
And a lot of it sounds, you have the rapid fire. There's some signature riffs that Fast Eddie always used, that Kirk Hammett seems to have something right in that same ballpark. I really wonder how much influence Fast Eddie Clarke's playing had on Kirk Hammett.
This summer, serve up the Cookout Classics, Heinz Ketchup, and Kraft Singles. Every good burger needs a layer of perfectly melty cheese and thick, rich ketchup. We all know it's not a cookout without Heinz and Kraft.
You can make the argument, too, that, this is really, and I know I compared their music to Chuck Berry on steroids, but they influenced so many bands that in the thrash movement, whether you just said, Metallica, Slayer, Anthrax, they all talk about Motorhead as being a huge influence on them throughout their career, especially in the beginning, that even more so than any other band in the new wave of British heavy metal movement, whether it's Diamond Head, I mentioned Tank, Holocaust, Death Angel, a lot of those bands, Motorhead really is kind of the bridge from the Zeppelin, Sabbath, Deep Purple era to the thrash movement, right? I mean, it's kind of like, they hear these three iconic bands that, Led Zeppelin's considered more rock and roll, but Sabbath and Deep Purple were really intricate in the heavy metal movement. Then you've got this band Motorhead, and then it goes boom right into thrash. And I guess you can also put Maiden and Judas Priest in there, but with the attitude and the rawness, you can't dispute Motorhead's contribution and influence on these bands.
Yeah, and I think Lemmy I saw something in an interview that he was a little dismissive of connecting Motorhead to thrash, but I don't think that thrash comes into being if Motorhead's not there.
Yeah, I agree with that. And that, it's just with the pace of the music, the rawness and everything. I mean, it's got a huge connection to it, and I don't know if you can really deny it. I mean, it's kind of like Zeppelin. Zeppelin doesn't do a lot of interviews with anything connected to heavy metal. Anything that has metal in the title of something, Zeppelin refuses to do it. They just don't want to be associated with metal. And I don't know. I mean, whether they want to believe it or not, they are connected to it, right? I mean, you can talk about the Stairway to Heavens and everything, but when you listen to a song like Achilles' Last Stand, or if you listen to Kashmir with that constant driving beat, even though it's not thrash, it's part of that movement. It's part of that sound of just monotonous drumming and monotonous beat.
You get that pedal tone sound that thrash is well known for, albeit at a much higher rate, much greater tempo than you get from something like Kashmir. But that use of frequently it's the low E string on the guitar that everything comes back to that repeated E or something else. But I guess you can trace the roots back to that. And I think Motorhead is just as influential in bringing about the development of thrash by incorporating the speed with that prior approach to having a recurring note as the theme throughout the song.
After Metropolis, the album goes into the Hammer, and then Iron Horse, Born to Lose. The Hammer off the legendary Ace of Spades album, and Iron Horse, Born to Lose off of the debut Motorhead. What I like on the listing of the music and the set list is they don't have an exact date for Iron Horse, Born to Lose. And if you know anything about new wave of British heavy metal and how a lot of these bands recorded in the studios they used, they were very sloppy when it came to a lot of things on the production end of the music. And I guess that adds an element of personality to the songs. I mean, you listen to some of these new wave of British heavy metal albums, the mix isn't always good. And I enjoy stuff like that because I can still feel what they're trying to do. But again, with that era in the UK, the studios and who's ever responsible for doing whatever, the liner notes or whatever, there really never was a great way, or they never had a great way to document what they were doing.
Yeah. You talk about Iron Horse, Born to Lose. That's probably my second favorite Motorhead song. It's definitely up there in the top 5. It's off the debut album. And I think that the live version here is the version that appeared on that No Remorse compilation. They had a few live cuts that were on there, and I'm pretty sure, based on the way he talked about it being dedicated to all the angels in hell, that's the same version that's on the No Remorse album. And yeah, you're right. This is the only song that didn't appear in the original incarnation of this album from those 4 shows.
And then you've got No Class into Overkill. No Class is one of my favorite Motorhead songs. It was recorded on the 28th of March from the Overkill album. And then it goes into Overkill, which, like I mentioned, the energy of Overkill on the studio version is crazy. On the live version, it is just, it's wow. I mean, it's absolutely wow. I mean, like, this is a song that if you hear, in my opinion, with Overkill, you stop what you're listening to, you rewind it, you click back, you don't really rewind anything anymore, but you go back to the song, you listen to it a second time before you move on.
Yeah, I think that Overkill is something it has an element to it that's not quite expected when you're listening to Motorhead songs. Is it has that kind of like that break right at the end before the outro that changes things. And you're not used to such things in Motorhead albums, because usually you want like 3 minutes in a cloud of dust, but it stops all of a sudden and then has like this theme that's similar to the beginning of the song and then leads to Fast Eddie's outro solo.
Yeah, that outro is so iconic too.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. Just when you think the song is over, it kicks in again. Yeah, I love that moment on that song. I mean, it is such a classic song. It's such a great song for new Motorhead fans to listen to, because it really does pull you in, and it doesn't let you go for the entirety of the song. It really keeps you engaged.
Yeah. We moved to We Are the Road Crew. This is my favorite Motorhead song.
Great tune.
This is a song where it's dangerous for me to listen to it while driving, because it will make me more aggressive than I should be. It has the soloing that Eddie does on this song is different from the studio versions. And the studio version is, if there's anything you can point to as a solo being like very identifiable with a Motorhead song, to me, it's the We Are the Road Crew. And there's something about that relentless snare on the beat that just like, it grabs you and doesn't let you go until you get that pause with the signature riff in the song. And then it's right back into it. It pulls you along, and it's like this. If this song doesn't get your heart going, go listen to Lawrence Welk or something.
I agree. I love the way there is, like I said in the beginning of this conversation, an interaction with the crowd. And I think it's a road crew member that comes up and
God-awful scream.
God-awful scream into the mic that, again, Motorhead fans are eating it up in this, at this performance. And it just, again, it sets the tone for the song. What I like about live albums that do this is the album is recorded on multiple dates, and they keep the crowd noise continuous, right? I always get annoyed with a live album that has a fade out of the crowd and then a swell of a different performance within the same album. In my opinion, just have the crowd noise. I don't care if it's artificial crowd noise or recorded during the concert. Keep that crowd noise going. I don't want to hear a crowd fade out. I don't want to do it. I don't want to hear it. So, I like the fact that they maintain that throughout the album.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. That does detract from the live experience. I mean, the crowd around you doesn't fade out between songs, so why would it on the album?
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right. I mean, no. We Are the Road Crew is a great Motorhead tune.
I've always wanted to be in a band that played this song. I don't know anybody that could sing it, but I mean, maybe if you cocked your head up at like the 45-degree angle that Lemmy did. I don't know. I'm not sure what inspired that or how he discovered that could be his singing style. To me, it looks like something that would give you lifelong neck pain.
Yeah.
But this is a song that I've always wanted to play.
The next song we go into is Capricorn, which, as Lemmy describes, is the slow song of the night, which is slow for Motorhead. But again, it's another jam off the Overkill album. And then it goes into Bomber, which is another iconic song from Motorhead.
Yeah, you're talking about Capricorn. I had this really weird thought as I was listening to it. I hope that our dog's barking in the background. I hope he's not coming through too much. On Capricorn, there's like a couple of chords, and I guess it's like a dominant seventh kind of chord that's being used. Where I had this strange thought: if you took the song, took all the gain off the guitars, put like a bunch of a chorus effect into it, and changed the sing to like this really smooth, clean sing, I almost feel like this could be like an Atlanta Rhythm Section song, just because of the chord structure. Which is a strange thought to have about a Motorhead song, but there's like something about the chords that are slightly less than intuitive for this style of song. But he's got like a lot of delay on the vocals that he doesn't really have on the other songs in the album. So the song kind of stands out as a track that's a bit different, and maybe that's the slow song that we're talking about. So
yeah, I just find it funny that he calls the song the slow song.
Yeah.
Performance. And it obviously was not that slow. It's slow for Motorhead, as I said. But Bomber gets the crowd, continues there towards the end of the performance here on the live album. And then of course it ends with the song Motorhead, which was pretty indicative of a lot of new wave of British heavy metal bands to write a song with their band name, whether it was Iron Maiden had that too as well. I believe Death Angel did that. But there's a whole bunch of new wave of British heavy metal bands that did write a song after their name, and put on the album. I don't know why they did that. It was a thing back then, especially in the UK, but the song Motorhead is simply genius. It really is a great tune. Simple, to the point, and just kicks your ass.
Well, if my opinion is sought on why bands named a song after themselves, I think I would point to Black Sabbath as being the reason everybody did it. It's interesting that Bomber was the only track from that album included here. And then Motorhead, I mean, you can really tell where there's a punk influence in the band with their self-titled song. I think that comes through probably better here than on any of the other songs that are included on this album.
The album finishes up, like I said, with the song Motorhead. It was recorded over a couple performances at Leeds and Newcastle on the Short Sharp Pain in the Neck tour. I'll repeat that. The Short Sharp Pain in the Neck tour. With the exception of, like we mentioned, Iron Horse, Born to Lose, which is from a 1980 show, but does not say which show that was from. So it's a collective performance. Like most live albums are, but again, one of the best live albums that from the 80s, from that period of hard rock and heavy metal, and just a fantastic recording. Captures the elements that make Motorhead great. Any songs that you would have liked to have seen on this album?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I think from Bomber, I would have liked to maybe seen Stone Dead Forever on there. From Overkill, maybe No Class or Damage Case. We were talking about Metallica. Metallica did a pretty good cover of Damage Case on the Garage Inc. album. So those are the three that jumped to my mind. Maybe off of the self-titled debut, White Line Fever. Those are some of the ones that are the omissions that I maybe would have liked to have seen. What about you?
Oof. Man, that's a tough one. I would say, I think from Overkill, I would have liked to have seen that. I'll Be Your Sister, which I would have loved to have heard live. I love that. Damage Case, which I love. Damage Case, and Tear You Down. And if I had to go Ace of Spades, I would do. I'm sorry. If I had to do Motorhead, the debut album, I would. What's the song that I love on Motorhead? White Line Fever, which would be great, and Keep Us on the Road.
Yeah,
but
go ahead. Sorry.
But they did, they did do, We Are the Road Crew, which is kind of like the same, subject.
Right. It's interesting if if you go in and look at the Wikipedia entry for a lot of well-known albums such as these, they usually will list somebody has included the different releases of the album, different variations, and this one has at least 3, maybe 4 that are listed. But my version of this album is not one of the ones that they have listed. I have a 2008. The version I have is a CD. It's a 2008 release from Sanctuary Records that is different from the other releases that are listed here. It's a 2-disc set, and it has the first 11 songs that we've talked about. It has then 7 bonus tracks that are included from, let me see, the 1996 reissue. But then it has another disc that are different versions of a lot of the songs that are included in the original set. And so I find it interesting that this release is not included. Somebody hasn't completed this part of the Wikipedia.
Yeah, there's I like the remasters of, like when I bought the remasters for No Sleep Till Hammersmith or any of the albums, whether it's Bomber or Overkill, I really like the Castle Communications remasters. And I know they're from the 90s and technology did get better, but I really like the packaging on a lot of that stuff too as well. And the Sanctuary Records one are really good too, which I do enjoy.
Yeah, yes, it's cool to have different versions. So I can see when I listen to the version that was originally included and bonus edition version of the same song that came from a different performance of it, I can usually see why they picked the one they did, because it's usually got something a little more full sound, or the production's a little more even. But it is interesting to hear variations in the same song between nights. Yeah. And when bands used to change up the set list too. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We were just talking in the group, or I saw there was a conversation in the group about the set list for the Aerosmith tour.
Yeah.
And unfortunately that set list probably won't change that much from night to night on something like that. But, when I don't see, big 10-inch, or if I don't see some of the other great Aerosmith, the old songs, what's the song off Rocks that I really like, Licking a Promise, stuff like that. And of course, they got to appease the fans too, the people that know their hits, right, that really don't know the deep cuts and the deep tracks. But yeah, it's different nowadays, where bands don't allow themselves a lot of differences from night to night.
Yeah, I saw that list, and as far as I'm concerned, you could never ever play Love in an Elevator, and I'd be quite happy with that.
Yes. Yeah, I mean that one, Rag Doll, which I'm not too crazy about. Dude Looks Like a Lady, I'm not too crazy about crying and don't miss a thing. It's nice every once in a while. But
I was happy to see Moving Out on the list because that's probably my favorite Aerosmith song.
Yeah. No, man. I mean, are they going to stick to their farewell tour? Or are they going to reunite in 3 years? Who knows? But they are up there.
Yeah. So
that's the thing. But all in all, this is a great album. This is a great album for metal and hard rock fans. It's a great band. And I know, if you were introduced to Motorhead 20, 25 years ago and you're like, man, I don't like this guy's voice. It just doesn't do anything for me. Go check it out. You may feel different about it. It may hit you in a different way. The songs are great. The songs are pretty much about the rock and roll lifestyle. There's nothing that's deep in these albums. There's nothing that is, once in a while you might get a little bit of more of a, perspective from Lemmy on something different, but most of it's about women, drugs, playing rock music. And that's what makes Motorhead so beautiful. So awesome.
You can't have a well-running car without the smell of mechanics grease. And that's what this album is for rock and roll.
Wow, that's a perfect description, dude.
Thanks.
You should on the next reissue for this, you should write that. That is perfect.
I'm not sure they're going to seek me out for that, but thank you.
Well, you should send them a message.
Okay.
No, it's great. Please check it out. No Sleep Till Hammersmith. Recorded over a few nights in the UK. Those nights are, let me just pull up the notes here on the show. It was recorded at the Newcastle City Hall on March 30th. And where's the one at Leeds? At the Leeds Queen's Hall on March 28th. So those were the two shows that it came from, and then of course there was the show that no one knows which show, the song right. That no one knows where it came from. But yeah, that's No Sleep Till Hammersmith and another live album review on The Hook Rocks. I hope you enjoyed it. We got to figure out which one we want to do next. But we do have some options, of course. We've got a lot of options to continue in the future. So go check it out, go listen, and let us know what you think of the album after you revisit it. Please let us know on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter what you think of the album, what you think of Motorhead.
Been a lot of fun, Jay. Thanks again for doing this. This is cool.
Always a pleasure, man. Thanks again for taking the time out of your day to record these with me, and always appreciate it. On to the next one.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Another episode of The Hook Rocks. I hope you enjoyed the conversation and discussion. Don't forget to check us out and write us a review of what you think of the show and what you think of the podcast. Reviews do matter for podcasters, so please take the time. Once again, thanks for stopping by. Take care of each other. Be safe, and we will talk soon. Thank you.